geometry, traction, debts, and action. It's the Power of God's Love podcast, episode 1016. Hey there, Tony here, and I hope your previous week was better than a fully restored 68 Mustang Fastback. Oh yeah, those were only driven by the coolest of the cool. You know, like Steve McQueen, me. Yeah, you get the message. Anyway, excuse me while I just fantasize a little bit about cruising the countryside in my fully polished, shiny blue 68 Mustang Fastback. Okay, enough of that nonsense. It's time to share the Truth Journal with you, my fellow truth lover. And here's what's happened in the past week. Page 1, the geometry spot where your brain will not rot. Okay, let me explain what I'm talking about here. In the ninth grade, I hated algebra, and it showed. I hated it because it could be, to quote Mr. Spock, most illogical sometimes. But thankfully, I passed it and went on to the 10th grade, where I got to enjoy the glorious world of geometry. And that's where things got more precise again. Yeah, yippee. From acute, and I don't mean cute like cute, those are cute. From acute to obtuse angles to circumference and radius calculations, all the way to circle theorems, I found geometry to be delightful. By the way, here's what a place online called the Geometry Spot said about circle theorems. They're like secret codes. Once you crack them, they can help you understand the magic of circles. These theorems show you how amazing and precise circles can be. By understanding tangents and angles in circles, the applications to solve real-world problems are limitless. Hey, can you say the circle of life? Yeah. Okay, let's get back to it. In case you never heard of the Geometry Spot, here's what they say about themselves. GeometrySpot.000, it's kind of weird, is a math website that covers the topic of geometry. We have math tutorials, explanations, and activities. We have over 30 articles across multiple websites and update all of our sites weekly. If you're looking for other ways to improve your geometry skills, check out some of our activities. We have activities that cover anything and everything about geometry. I thought that was pretty cool, and their activities include exploring the geometry of circles, tangents, secants, and chords, how to find the area of a circle, a quick and simple guide, understanding the geometry of right angles, Pythagorean theorem, and special ratios. Okay, now the Pythagorean theorem describes the relationship between the three sides of a right triangle. And it's attributed to the ancient Greek mathematician and philosopher Pythagoras. It's spelled Pythagors, Pythagoras. If you want to get some other way about it, you can say Pythagoras. I don't do that. Anyway, yeah, they had some weird names back then. You know, not cool like Funderburk. Anyway, a few years ago, I wrote a short rhyme to help kids see how even math points to our infinitely brilliant creator. Yeah, Mr. Spock is just a tiny blip on the radar screen of logic when compared to Jesus. Thankfully, Jesus is the source of logic and love. And that's why I write rhymes like this one. Geometry. Geometric shapes and angles help you understand triangles, but they can show you even more, like what we've all been put here for. Unless, of course, you'd rather not. Go where math leads and change your thought. If that's your choice, you've cooked your goose and burned up your hypotenuse. Yeah, hypotenuse, that's a geometric term. Very technical, so let's don't get into that. All right, page 2. Now, it's too late for regrets as you pay off the debts. Shall I explain? Well, yes, I shall, as a matter of fact. It's happened to just about all of us here in America at one time or another. That nagging feeling of regret when you find yourself under a pile of debt, but you're a responsible person, so you came to terms with it, right? And those terms were what you put yourself under to get yourself out from under all that debt. But that's just the money stuff. There's another debt you can't dig yourself out from under. And if you try, you'll discover it's too late for regrets of any kind. And this is starting to sound like a life lesson answer to a question you didn't even ask, isn't it? Well, influencers and marketing professionals all say you got to tell a story or nobody will listen. They say nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So, since I care about you and your soul, I'll share a little story I've shared before. And hopefully, it'll help illustrate the point I'm making about when it's too late for regrets. Are you comfy and you got your nice hot beverage? You're sitting there cozy and you feel good, right? All right, here's the story. When I was a little boy, around 4 years old, my parents divorced. And my dad took my brother and me to live with my grandparents, his parents. And grandmother was a Christian woman who took her role as an evangelizer very seriously. She wanted all 3 of her sons, one of which was my dad, and all their children, one of which was me, to go to heaven. That evil woman, she wanted all of her sons and grandkids to go to heaven? What? Yeah, and she made no bones about it, let me tell you. Basically, every Sunday we lived with them, my brother and I, my grandparents would take us to church. And I still vividly recall that fire and brimstone Baptist atmosphere. The kind where the preacher could and would get loud sometimes. And the kind that, for a preschool little boy like me, seemed to go on for days most of those times. With a finish that included the preacher asking if anyone would like to come up and give their heart to Jesus, saying something like, "With all heads bowed and all eyes closed." He repeated that message each week as the congregation sang that old hymn, "Just As I Am." If you've been in church for a few decades, you know the song I'm talking about. By the time I was 5 years old, I started receiving an elbow nudge from my grandmother each week during those altar calls, but being the shy introvert that I was, I never went up there. However, when I was 13, my grandparents came from Oklahoma to visit my dad's place in Texas. And after they had been there for about a day, grandmother asked me to come back to my dad's room because she said she wanted to talk to me. So I went back there with her, and wouldn't you know, she gave me another nudge, another Jesus talk. She explained what he could do and wanted to do for me. Then she asked if I'd like to give my heart to him and live forever. Well, that sounded good to me, yeah. But I didn't have to go up in front of a bunch of people, so I said yes. Grandmother was visibly thrilled, and I was very glad about my decision. But then she told me something that turned my glow to gloom. She said I had to go tell everyone in the house, and I knew that I was in for it with my stepsister, because I knew she would make fun of me, because that was just the kind of thing that she enjoyed, jumping on my case when I was vulnerable. But I owned up to my responsibility, and I went out to tell the family members about my salvation. Yes, I suffered the stepsister ridicule, but I lived to tell you this story, so ha ha ha. So there. I don't know if it helped you understand anything or not. I don't know if it entertained you. I hope something like this. I hope it didn't bore you to sleep. I only shared it because of how it might help someone avoid trying to pay off those eternal debts. Because you got to understand, nobody can do that. And yet, eternal debts pile up, and they have to be paid. Thankfully, I decided at the age of 13 to take Jesus up on his offer to pay off my debts. And one day, I'll go live with him forever, where I can thank him in person for taking responsibility. I heard my sweet dreams shatter. Blue skies fell around my feet. My plans, they just don't matter. Big lies and elite deceit. Same thing throughout the ages. Same words out of different lips. False hopes on empty pages. Crash course with a truth eclipse. And it all seems helpless, hopeless, in a world that's full of broken-hearted, reckless, faithless, from the ones still here and the dear departed. When was all this madness started? When we began to flee from responsibility. I saw the spotlight lifted. Dark days covered all the hearts. Don't know when the whole thing shifted. Who cares once the damage starts? I wrote a sad life story, just words one could soon forget. Learn from this allegory. Too late hasn't happened yet. Yeah, it's not too late until you take your last breath. After that, yes, it is too late. You can't get from this point A here to that point B of heaven if you haven't made that decision. And that takes me to page 3. Active, not passive, makes your faith more massive. Yeah, if you want to get from point A to point B, you got to be active, not passive. Got some goals you'd like to achieve? It's going to take action, not just reaction. Yeah, you got to be a doer, not just a hearer if you want to get things done. And effective faith is like that too. Active, not passive, faith can produce a better you. For example, check out what Paul told the Colossians about some of their bad habits and see if what he said was doable without action, okay? Here's what he said. But now you yourselves are to put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy language out of your mouth. Do not lie to one another, since you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man who is renewed in knowledge, according to the image of him who created him. You notice there's a lot of putting on and putting off action packed in that short passage, right? And multiple components, by the way, with one eternal wow factor result when you do the action. Do. But there's the rub, because it's those darn components that make the doing so difficult. Now let's take me, for example. I've always had a reasonably long fuse when it comes to anger and wrath. But when I was younger and reached the end of that fuse, the explosion could do a whole lot more than just rock the boat, we'll say. And then beware the wrath that went along with it. Thankfully, I didn't bear malice toward anyone, and I didn't have a problem with blasphemy. But I wish I could say no filthy language ever came out of my mouth. Fortunately, I drew the line at F-bombs and that kind of cursing. But I missed God's mark by a country mile. His mark of perfection? Yeah, I missed that by a long shot. But I'm pleased to say that with advanced age, and I got plenty of that now, enough wisdom made it into my thick skull to help me put on the new man. Because I'm confident in the knowledge that I'm renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created me. Kind of sounds like I'm talking out of the Bible, doesn't it? Because I am. And that brings me massive comfort and hope. Just to be clear, it's not what I do or did that produces that result. It's what Jesus did that gives me the courage, desire, and strength to keep my faith active and not passive. I hope you have that kind of connection too with your Creator, because all of creation points to the Savior. We are all here by design. All the environment and complex behavior, the glory of God makes it shine. All of creation holds information encoded within every cell. All of the best minds in each generation won't banish what Christians know well, that all of creation is here by the Word of God, and all of creation mirrors His mind, and all of creation is saved by the love of God. All of creation, Jesus defined. All right, I'm probably the first to bring it up, but Christmas is coming in less than 4 weeks, and less than 3 weeks now, I believe. And you can find a bunch of delightful digital gifts in the bookshop on my website, tonyfunderburk.com/books. And you don't have to buy anything to stay connected with me, by the way. You can just go to tonyfunderburk.com and put your email in there and subscribe to the Truth Journal. And you would get these flashes of light sent to you every week, or you can just subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, and that keeps you in touch with me. Either way, let's stay in touch so I can hear from you if you want to ask me a question or tell me something. That'd be great. And you can always do that at tonyfunderburk.com. And tonyfunderburk.com, as always, is the only sponsor of the Power of God's Love podcast. Now, until next time, let's all go out there and share the power of God's love.